Welcome back to Villains Month. It is Plastic Disasta, and the next villain we're going to look at is the real great Tallgeese. And can't you believe it's been more than a year since I built the last real grade? And since the last two villains I looked at are both from the HGUC, I thought I would change things up a little bit, take a look at something that's from an alternate universe and a real grade. Now, what makes the Tallgeese very frightening? Well, the pilot himself is not really frightening. I mean, he prefers to fight his rival, which is Hiroyui, to fight on equal terms. I guess you could say the villain was pretty fair, but I think what makes this Tallgeese frightening is this Dober gun, and if you guys seen the anime, you know it packs a punch. Taking a look at the box art, of course, it's a typical real grade. You got the close-up of the face and what the Tallgeese looks like. This side of the box, we have a familiar close shot. We got the inner frame, shows off the articulation, the gimmicks, and what the kit looks like when it's all put together. In this side of the box, we got more gimmicks, action poses, and a rear shot of the kit. This side of the box, we got 5 bags of runners and a manual. On the cover of the manual is another familiar close-up shot of the face. Checking the parts list, it looks like we're going to be using all of the parts. Looking at the highlight inside the manual, we got more information of the Tallgeese, and we got English and Japanese text. If you want to read, feel free to pause and do so. We got information of the backpack, but unfortunately the text is only in Japanese. Next up, it's showcasing the weapons. Finally, you got the back of the manual, which shows you where to place the sticker decals, and finally a color guide if you're planning on painting it. Starting off with runner A1, it's going to be multicolored runner. We got a big chunk of white, yellow, and gray. Runner B is going to be the typical real grade advanced MS joint. Runner C1 is going to be more white parts. Now, just a heads up, there is no runner C2, because there is a Tallgeese 2, which is a P-Bandai kit. Runner D1 is going to be yellow parts, and just a heads up, there's no Runner D2. Well, you know the reason. Runners E1 and E2 is going to be the glossy white parts, and we have Runner E2, which is a copy of this section. Next up, we have Runner F. Now, on camera, it looks like it's either dark gray, but if you have it in hand, it's actually navy blue. Runners G1 and G2 is going to be the gray inner frame parts, and G2 is going to be a copy of this section. Runner H1 is going to be the clear parts, and now take a look. We have clear beam saber effect parts, but you also get pink beam saber effect parts. More on that on the accessories. Runner H2 is going to be the only red part. And finally, the real grade sticker sheet. Alright, so that's going to be it for the unboxing. Now, this is one of those modern real grade kits, so I expect great things out of it. So I'm going to put this kit together right now, and I'll see you guys right after. And here is the Tallgeese all put together. Now, I'm going to try to keep this unboxing portion short because there isn't much to talk about. Like, I'm going to skip over the seam lines because there's not really much seam lines when it comes to real grade kits. And as for the MS joints or the runner B parts, that's going to be on the arms and the legs. As for stickers, I only put the gold square that goes behind the face, which I will show you the picture, and another sticker I want to point out, which would be this blue one that goes onto the eyes, and this small tiny blue one right here goes to this little circle right here on the Dober or Dober gun. I forgot how you pronounce it, but since they are clear pieces, I did this little trick that you can use a Sharpie instead, and it actually works very well. Now, I know my lighting is not the best, but I did put a blue Sharpie on the eyes. Okay, so that's going to be it with the out-of-box presentation, and with the power of editing, I'm going to work on this kit, and some off-camera detail work. Here is what the Tallgeese will look like, and you don't have to do much when you planning on detail work, because I only use like a few decals. I did some panel lighting, and I only paint like small bits of silver. And when you're using the RG stickers, or the decals I mean, on white plastic, it doesn't look that bad because it barely hides the borders around the sticker. Oh, maybe a few spots. But when you look at it from a distance, it doesn't look too bad. Holy crap, how did I mess that up? Moving on with accessories, starting off with hand options. On the kit, you got 2 closed fists, 2 open palm hands, 2 weapon holding hands, and another weapon holding hand for the right side, and it's on an angle. I guess it's used to point the beam saber forward. You have an action base connector that you can plug on an action base stand. A 1/144 scale of the pilot Zex Merkys or Milliardo Peacecraft. For weapons, you got the Dober gun. You got this handle is on a ball joint right here, and it can swing side to side. And you have another handle which can move side to side as well. And you also get a rotation. The ammo clip does remove, but I don't think you can store it anywhere, nor you have spare ammo clips, so check this out. Isn't that cool? And you got this little arm right here, which will plug into the right shoulder. That's because you got a peg right here. So it rotates right here, rotates here, rotates here, and rotates here, and rotates here. To plug it in, you just open this up, which reveals a little hole, and that's where you plug this in. Next up, you have its shield, and yes, I did paint the silver details on it, and you have another arm which plugs in onto the left shoulder. You got a rotation here, you got a hinge here, you got a hinge here, and a rotation right up there. Moving on to the back of the shield, you got the handle that flips out, and if you want to get the beam sabers out, you rotate it, and it plugs out. And speaking of beam sabers, you get 2 beam saber effect parts in pink, and not only 2, you get another set of beam saber effect parts but in clear. And what's so cool about this one is that you can paint this in any color you want. So that's about it for the accessories. Let me get this big gun out and we can move on to the articulation. Starting with the head, you got a ball joint right up there, and moving on to the chest, you got this cockpit opening mechanism, but of course you don't get a pilot in there. Alright, here's what's cool. You do get an ab crutch, but it doesn't move. But if you move to the back, lift this up, now you get an ab crunch. But if you want to keep it in that pose, you can push this piece down and it kind of locks in there. And if you want to keep it as a regular standing pose, you can move this down and move this piece down as well, and again it locks it in place. Moving on to the shoulders, you do get a little bit of swinging, but if you want to get more of that, you can pull this out. Now you get more of it. The shoulder pad can move up and down. The arms can move up this far. Get a bicep rotation, which is a little tight, and double bend on the elbow. Wrist is on a ball joint. You do get a waist rotation, and get this, if you want to make it move side to side, look at the side skirts. It moves along with it. Isn't that kind of funny? No movement on the front skirts, but if you lift this up, this little thruster sticks out. Moving on to the side skirt, you get a ball joint right up there and a ball joint right down there. And you got another gimmick, which of course the side skirt does open and you get thrusters. You also get this neat little gimmick that if you pull this out, easier said than done, this little ball joint right here that plugs on the side to the thigh, which keeps it in place. Moving on to the back skirt, you do get some movement, and another gimmick, you can lift this part out, which reveals more thrusters, and yes, it's on a ball joint. Moving on to the legs, you do get some swinging hip action. The leg can kick up this far, move back that far, can move out this far, and it can do a little bit more than it splits. You get a thigh swivel. Double bend up the knee, you get some really nice knee armor separation. Moving down to the feet, the foot can go up this far, and it can move back this far. The toe bends upward just a little bit. And as for the pivot, it's actually pretty good. And moving on to the back, well, technically it's not a backpack, it's actually part of the torso. You do get a little bit of swinging action. It has a hinge here and a hinge here and rotates. And I want to take this thruster off just to show you another gimmick. Just open these up, bring these wings out, pull it down, easier said than done, and bring this flap out. Okay, so for some weird reason on my copy it's kind of loose, but once you get the hang of it, you got more thrusters. Overall, the articulation on this kit is really good, though some of you guys can pose this kit better than I do. Size comparisons, here it is right next to the standard size RX-78-2, and from the looks of it, they both have the same height. Except here it is right next to its rival, the Wing Gundam, and boy, they look great together. And if you want to recreate that one episode from Gundam Wing, here it is right next to the heavy arms. Though you're gonna have to do some modification if you want to pull out a beam saber. Except here it is right next to the Grunt Mobile Suit Leo. Now, in the anime, the Leo is shorter than the Tallgeese, so that's correct. Finally, here it is right next to Megatron. So that's gonna be it for the size comparisons. Let's move on to my final thoughts. So for my final thoughts, overall, I'm really satisfied with this kit. You got great details, you got nice color separation. I mean, it's a real grade, so what do you expect? And speaking of a real grade, it is one of the modern real grades, and you know it's gonna be good. And it also means it's pretty solid. One thing I forgot to mention, if you're planning on detail working on this kit, I recommend using semi-gloss or gloss coat just to keep that shine, because I did a semi-gloss and it kind of brings down the shine a little bit, which almost looks like a matte finish. Not like it's a bad thing. I mean, I do prefer a matte finish over a gloss finish, but that's totally up to you. Also, that loose part I mentioned, that is kind of an easy fix, so that's no big deal for me. So, do I recommend this kit? Yeah, I do. If you're a Gundam Wing fan or if you just want a nice modern real grade kit, I say pick this kit up. I have heard it has better ankles than the master grade version. I mean by that, I mean it never topples over. Alright, so that's gonna be it for the review. I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new here, want to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe. And if you have any questions, concerns, comment down below, leave a like. I'll see you guys in the next video. And happy Halloween, be safe. You wanna know what's the best part of this video? Is that I don't have the title, it's a Gundam.